The cameras flashed, the crowd completely froze, and just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
A very dark obsession, honestly.
Right, because imagine this. A woman in a striking purple dress screams at a man in a blood-stained gray sweater right in the middle of a busy intersection.
It's frantic, it's visceral, and it is the absolute definition of a scene being entirely too real.
Especially when you know what is actually happening when those cameras stop rolling.
Exactly.
Welcome to this deep dive on Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today, we have a truly fascinating mission for this deep dive. We're unpacking the intense, completely viral new set photos of Margaret Qualley.
Yeah, she's filming the remake of the 1981 cult classic, Possession.
Right. But we aren't just looking at the movie itself because, well, we really have to look at the reality surrounding it.
Oh, absolutely. We're exploring her very public, real-life separation from Grammy-winning musician Jack Antonoff.
Which is unfolding at the exact same time she is filming this movie, a movie about a horrific divorce.
It's just wild timing.
Mm-hmm.
And later, we'll also be breaking down the massive Hollywood bidding war behind this highly anticipated horror project.
Yeah, and the deeply technical cinematic choices that are already setting it apart from modern digitally polished horror.
So let's unpack this, because right now, Margaret Qualley is literally running for her life through the streets of New Jersey.
Literally running. So let's set the scene for you listening. Imagine you were standing on the sidewalk right outside Rum and Chickies in Jersey City.
Just, a normal day in Jersey.
Right. And suddenly, you see Margaret Qualley. The paparazzi photos from Baccarat and Getty Images, they captured two very distinct, very intense setups right before the production moved over to Patterson.
They really did. First, you have her in this all-black outfit, and her long hair is pulled into this loose, kind of messy braid.
Yeah, and she is visibly distraught. Like, she's screaming and literally vaulting over outdoor restaurant furniture.
It's a fully physical, frantic escape. Like, it looks less like choreography and more like pure, unrestrained panic.
Oh, absolutely. And then the production shifts to the second look, which is where things get really grim.
Right. The second look shifts to this really striking purple dress.
Yeah, and she's in the middle of this heated, intense intersection argument with her co-star, Callum Turner.
And he is sporting a gray sweater that is visibly spattered with blood droplets.
I mean, that is quite the visual.
What's fascinating here is how these images instantly telegraph the tone of the movie they're making.
Right.
For those who might not know, they are remaking Andrzej Żuławski's 1981 film, Possession.
Right.
And to call this just a horror movie is a massive understatement.
Oh, totally.
This is a psychological supernatural thriller that is widely considered one of the most disturbing, controversial cult classics ever committed to film.
Which, I gotta say, brings up a huge point of contention for cinephiles. I've seen the backlash online already.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
Isn't remaking Possession basically like trying to repaint the Mona Lisa, but with darker colors? Like, the original isn't just a movie, it is this notoriously untouchable, traumatic fever dream.
It's a massive risk.
Yeah.
I totally agree. To understand why, you kind of have to look at the 1981 plot.
Okay, let's hear it.
It follows Mark, an international spy.
Which already sounds like an action movie.
Right, but he returns to Cold War-era West Berlin to find his wife, Anna, demanding a divorce.
Just out of nowhere.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But her erratic behavior, it spirals far beyond just, infidelity.
Right.
It turns into this deeply disturbing secret involving an otherworldly, tentacled creature hidden in a Berlin apartment.
I mean, a tentacle creature in a divorce drama, that is just wild. But the
Yeah.
creature isn't even the scariest part, is it?
Exactly. It's really a brutal, unflinching examination of a marriage falling apart, just wrapped in the guise of supernatural horror.
Wow.
And what makes it so impossible to replicate is that Andrzej Żuławski wrote it as a raw, unfiltered meditation on his own real-life divorce.
So he literally put his own trauma on the page.
He did. He was experiencing a complete psychological breakdown, and he poured all of that poison directly into the script.
So how do you even manufacture that kind of authentic trauma in a 2027 Hollywood remake?
That's the million-dollar question.
Especially considering the original Anna was played by Isabelle Adjani. I mean, her performance is legendary. She won Best Actress at the 1981 Cannes Film Festival for it.
Oh, she's phenomenal in it.
If you're a horror fan, you know her dramatic breakdown scene in a subway passage is basically required viewing.
It's terrifying.
She is literally thrashing, screaming, leaking fluids. It is unhinged in a way that feels almost dangerous to watch. How does Margaret Qualley even approach stepping into those shoes?
Well, this is where the new project actually has a surprising ace up its sleeve. The original star herself has given this new movie her blessing.
Wait, really?
Yeah. In an interview with Numero, Isabelle Adjani personally endorsed Margaret Qualley's casting.
Oh, wow, that is huge.
She called her, quote, incredibly talented, and even noted their striking physical resemblance after meeting her a few years ago.
Okay, getting the blessing of the original icon definitely lowers the shields of some of the die-hard fans who might be skeptical.
Absolutely.
But does Qualley have the physical chops for it?
I think so.
Hmm?
She's no stranger to demanding roles, especially if you look at her unrestrained, highly physical performance in The Substance.
Oh, that's true. She was incredible in that.
She has a history of throwing her entire body into her work. She's honestly a natural choice to lead another deeply unsettling body horror story.
But art imitating life is about to take on a whole new meaning here. And this ties directly back to what you were saying about the original director pouring his real divorce into the 1981 film.
Right.
Wait till you hear what's happening in Margaret Qualley's personal life off camera. The timing is almost too coincidental.
It really is. It adds an entirely different, very heavy layer of tension to what we're seeing in these set photos.
If you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got an even crazier real-life story coming right up.
So let's look at the reality behind these intense screaming photos in New Jersey. Because these images actually mark Margaret Qualley's very first public appearance since her separation from Jack Antonoff.
Right, the Grammy-winning Bleachers frontman and mega producer.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, especially if we look at the timeline. So they made their relationship public back in 2022.
It was a whirlwind romance, really.
Totally. They got engaged in May of that year, and they married in this massive star-studded ceremony in New Jersey in August 2023.
Right. We are talking Taylor Swift, Lana Del Rey, Channing Tatum. Everyone was there.
But then on July 8th, after nearly 3 years of marriage, news broke that they had split.
And you know how the internet works. The sleuths were instantly on the case, long before the official announcement.
Oh, always are.
Right. People noticed that Margaret was noticeably absent from Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's rumored wedding celebrations.
A major red flag for fans.
Yeah, and then fans spotted the real digital footprint of a breakup. She deleted her wedding photos from her Instagram profile and changed her username entirely.
And of course, the viral response was just immediate.
As it always happens with high-profile musicians, the rumor mill started churning out theories of infidelity and betrayal.
Right.
But let's look at the official narrative, just to cut through the internet noise. Qualley's representative provided a very carefully worded statement to People magazine.
Classic PR move.
Completely. They stated that the infidelity rumors are, quote, categorically untrue. They emphasize there are no trust issues, and that Margaret and Jack are moving forward with kindness and unity.
Okay, I have to push back on that a little bit, just looking at human behavior.
Oh, for sure. Go for it.
I mean, come on. Kindness and unity. You don't usually systematically delete all your wedding photos and scrub your entire digital identity if everything is just sunshine, kindness, and a mutual parting of ways.
It does seem a bit contradictory, yeah.
That sounds like pure PR spin designed to protect a massive pop music brand. And, to be clear, we are just reporting what their reps provided. We aren't taking sides on what actually happened behind closed doors.
Absolutely not. But from a media analysis standpoint, it is definitely PR spin. When you have someone as embedded in the music industry's upper echelon as Jack Antonoff, well, the public relations machine goes into overdrive to prevent a messy narrative.
Right, you got to protect the brand. But it's just such a jarring emotional contrast. Think about this for a second. Imagine you, the listener, are navigating a highly publicized, very real-world separation.
Which is hard enough on its own.
Exactly. Every move on your Instagram is being analyzed. The whole world is speculating about your heartbreak. And then you go to work, and your job is to portray a woman going through a horrific, violent, supernatural divorce on screen.
It raises a profound question about how actors channel their personal lives into their work. On paper, you might think this would be the worst possible time to take on a role about a crumbling marriage.
Right, it sounds like psychological torture.
But actually, throwing herself into a demanding, highly physical role might be the ultimate coping mechanism.
Have you ever tried to work through a massive personal heartbreak by just throwing yourself into your job? Now imagine your job requires you to vault over cafe tables and scream in the street, covered in fake blood.
Exactly. And an insider actually told people that Qualley is, quote, happiest when she's working, and that she's looking ahead and focusing on her career.
Which makes total sense.
When you consider the sheer physical exertion required for a role like Anna in Possession, the screaming, the running, the absolute emotional extremes, it acts as a pressure valve.
It really reframes those paparazzi photos. When I see her screaming in that purple dress, it doesn't just look like acting anymore. It looks like an emotional release valve being caught on camera in real time.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
She is stepping into the shoes of a woman whose marriage is destroying her, while Callum Turner steps into the role of her husband Mark, originally played by the late Sam Neill. And they are doing this under a massive spotlight.
Which brings us to the industry side of this phenomenon, because the business mechanics behind this film are just as fierce, if not more so, than the plot itself.
So we have the star and we have the real-life drama perfectly mirroring the script. But later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the massive Hollywood bidding war this movie sparked and the Batman star secretly pulling the strings behind the scenes.
The studio battle for this movie is a literal masterclass in modern Hollywood economics.
Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next in the world of pop culture.
Let's shift gears to how this remake actually came to be, because it wasn't a simple green light. Behind this movie is a fierce 2024 Hollywood bidding war.
A massive one.
We are talking about a battle royal that pitted A24, Sony, Warner Bros., and Netflix against Paramount Pictures.
And Paramount Pictures ultimately won the prize. But I have to ask, why?
It's a valid question.
Why was this specific project such a hot commodity? It's a remake of a bizarre, controversial 80s movie about tentacle monsters and divorce. Why were the biggest studios in the world, including massive streamers like Netflix, fighting tooth and nail for it?
Well, it comes down to a combination of proven talent and the desperate need for bankable horror franchises. First, you have Parker Finn. He is the writer, director, and producer of this remake.
And he's coming off some major wins, right?
Massive, undeniable success. His 2022 film, Smile, holds a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's solid for a horror movie.
And he followed it up with Smile 2, which actually bumped that up to an 86%. He is a proven commodity in a genre that reliably prints money at the box office.
Right. And then you have The Secret Weapon producing it, Robert Pattinson.
Yes.
He's expanding his resume as a producer. He's got this. Plus, upcoming projects like Prime Time and The Chaperones. It's fascinating seeing him move into this powerhouse producer era.
It really is.
He's taking the massive cultural capital he earned from playing Batman and using it to fund these weird, incredibly dark indie projects.
It gives the project an undeniable prestige. But to answer your question about why Paramount won over a studio like A24, it comes down to distribution guarantees.
Okay, that makes sense.
A24 might be the king of modern elevated horror, but a legacy studio like Paramount can offer a massive global theatrical push. In an era where streamers like Netflix just want to bury your movie on a digital carousel, directors like Finn want the cinema experience.
So Paramount promised him a massive theatrical release.
Exactly. And the studio clearly believes in Finn's vision. We've even seen this great behind-the-scenes photo from Vanity Fair showing Margaret Qualley, Callum Turner, and Parker Finn all holding the script together.
Speaking of the cast, we know Qualley and Turner, who recently starred in Eternity and Rose of Nevada, are the leads, but they're also joined by Paul Dano and Diego Calva in undisclosed roles.
That is an incredibly stacked prestige cast for a horror film.
It really is, and Parker Finn is very clear about his cinematic vision for the film, which is slated for an October 1st, 2027 release.
Yeah, he told Entertainment Weekly that he wants a, quote, viciously sharp, crazy, insane film.
I love that description.
He intends to retain the original's teeth and ferocity while also creating a spiritual successor that explores entirely new territory.
Okay, here's a detail that absolutely blew my mind when I was reading through the production notes. Finn is shooting this entire movie on 35mm film.
Entirely on 35mm film.
Think about that for a second. In an age where every single horror movie looks like digitally polished to a shine, isn't choosing 35mm basically like choosing to listen to a scratched vinyl record instead of lossless digital audio?
That is exactly what it's like, and it is a brilliant choice. To understand why this matters, you kind of have to look at the mechanics of film versus digital.
Right.
A digital sensor, it renders pixels flawlessly. It captures light in this cold, mathematical, perfect way.
Which is great for some things, but maybe not horror.
Exactly. But 35mm film is organic.
Mhm.
It relies on physical chemicals, these silver halide crystals reacting to light.
Wait, so it's literally baking imperfections into the image.
Precisely. It creates literal grain and texture on the screen. The image feels like it's breathing. In horror, that physical grain creates a subconscious feeling of unease and dirtiness that digital simply can't replicate.
It makes the audience feel like they're watching something they shouldn't be watching.
Yes.
It adds this gritty, imperfect warmth. But it makes me wonder about the setting. Does shooting on vintage film mean they are keeping the bleak, Cold War-era West Berlin setting of the original?
See, that's the big question.
Or are they bringing it to modern-day America? Because, the set photos were clearly in New Jersey.
And that is the exact tension Parker Finn is playing with here. Shooting on 35mm film is a very deliberate choice that honors the original fans. It tells them, we respect the texture and the grit of the 1981 film you love.
Right.
But at the same time, the deliberate set locations, like using New Jersey to substitute for what looks like a modern urban backdrop, suggest a distinct visual departure. It's not a shot-for-shot remake.
It's a delicate balancing act. You have to honor the cinephiles who worship the 1981 film, but you also need to make a movie that plays to a broad, modern audience in a packed multiplex in 2027.
And Finn acknowledged that directly. He stated he's making this for a big audience, but specifically hopes the hardcore fans of Żuławski's original will give this new version a real chance. He's trying to thread an incredibly difficult needle.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Why should you care? Why is the internet so captivated by a few paparazzi photos of Margaret Qualley screaming in a purple dress in New Jersey?
Because it represents a perfect storm of narrative and reality colliding. We are rarely granted such a transparent look at the intersection of a star's personal tragedy and their professional output.
We are watching a deeply talented actress pour her real-time life transitions, the painful end of a highly publicized marriage, into a notoriously unsettling, physically demanding piece of art.
It's mesmerizing.
And she's doing it backed by a studio that fought a literal multi-million-dollar bidding war to make sure this story gets told on the biggest screens possible.
It is the convergence of raw human emotion, high-stakes Hollywood business, and the legacy of one of cinema's most traumatizing films.
Which leaves you with something to really think about. As we discussed earlier, the original 1981 Possession was famously written as a raw meditation on the director's own crumbling marriage and heartbreak.
Exactly.
Andrzej Żuławski poured his real divorce into that script. That was the secret ingredient that made it a masterpiece.
A haunting parallel to what is happening on set right now.
Truly. So if art is a mirror, how will Margaret Qualley's current real-life chapter permanently alter the DNA of this remake? Is the most terrifying horror always rooted in the very real, everyday tragedy of a broken heart?
That's a question we'll all be asking when the movie drops.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jeannie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.